For the first 1 to 2 minutes, the most important thing is to make sure that you're getting your base painted. The entire objective of Turf War revolves around painting. If you choose a weapon like a blaster, you must be getting kills during the last 30 seconds. Now, if you just pick a good painting weapon, this is what this stream is going to be about. I'm going to teach you how to just use a good painting weapon and just use your time wisely throughout the match, and then it's not going to matter if you got any splats at all. Alright, so in my Discord server, we got a new fellow named Carnage came in there asking about Turf War, trying to look for some more tactics to help himself win more, or themselves win more. Woomy was very helpful. Woomy was like, well, Joe already has a video on Turf War, but let's be honest, that video I made it when I was a casual, and the strategies that I suggest are for casuals. I do give you some legitimate strategies, but I also was like, you can win just by having fun. Okay, but Carnage came into my server and he was like, yo, I need better strats than this. I want to win for real. Okay, so what can you do as one lone squid without a team to engage all the perfect strategies? That's what we're going to investigate today. Okay, so first of all, what's the first thing that you can do to help yourself win more Turf Wars? Pick the right weapon. The entire objective of Turf War revolves around painting. So any paint that you throw down in the first 30 seconds or last 30 seconds in the middle minute of the match, it doesn't matter when you painted, that paint all matters. If you choose a weak painting weapon, then you have to get value out of your weapon some other way than by getting paint. Because if you just try to focus on paint and your weapon sucks at painting, then you're just going to get outpainted by some junior on the other team, right? So if you choose a weapon like a blaster, you must be getting kills during the last 30 seconds to get the most value out of your weapon. And it's okay to pick blaster in Turf War. You can play any weapon you want, but just recognize that when you pick a weapon that's weak at painting, then you better be doing something else to get value. Now, if you just pick a good painting weapon, this is what this stream is going to be about. I'm going to teach you how to just use a good painting weapon and just use your time wisely throughout the match, and then it's not going to matter if you got any splats at all. Now that we have a good painting weapon in our hands, what do we actually do with it? What is our actual strategy? For the first 1 to 2 minutes, the most important thing is to make sure that you're getting your base painted. So that means you do not super jump in after you respawn. Instead, make sure that you paint your way out of your base. This is going to make it so that once you're at that final minute of the match, your base is already completely painted. So now you don't have to worry about it. You can just focus on other things. What's up, Woomy? I see you in my lobby there. Hey, buddy. Right now we're playing short range, so first 1 minute, 1 to 2 minutes, we're just going to paint the base. We're doing post commentary for the rest of this video, so get ready for some in-depth Turf War tips. Here we go. Okay, so you heard me say that for the first 1 to 2 minutes, you should be painting your base, and now I'm showing you what that actually means. You don't have to just sit in your base the whole time. It just means pick one section to thoroughly paint your way through each time you leave your base. The biggest thing is to just remember for the first 2 minutes, try not to super jump back into the middle of the map when you respawn. Instead, you should be taking a look at your base and saying, okay, which path can I take on my way out to make sure that I get some paint on my way? And then once you're out of the base, have some fun, run around. You see me get splatted, no big deal. I want this to happen anyway, because that means I get to go back to my base, to my respawn pad, and I get to paint a new path out of my base. So I'm going down the right side this time, instead of the left like last time, and I'm cleaning up all the paint in these corners here, and you never know, this just might make the difference at the very end of the match. All that paint I got in the corners there might be worth 5, 10, maybe even 20% if the map has a really big base. And well, would you look at the time? It's time to have some fun again, Have some fun with your weapon. If you're playing a new weapon, then maybe just go try to find some fights so you can practice. It's no big deal if you die, because if you do, you're still gonna have a way to use your time wisely while you're getting out of your base. That was Woomy throwing a booyah bomb, my own friend trying to booyah me down. But hey, it's Turf Wars. I get it, all's fair in love and turf. Once the timer starts ticking down below 1 minute left on the clock, you want to start reeling it back in, because if you die in that last minute, it can actually really hurt your chances. You're going to see me actually get splatted during this last minute here, so you are going to see how you can pull it back, but just for your information, once the timer starts getting below 1 minute, you're going to start wanting to be really careful, start really keeping your distance away from people. I know I said to have fun earlier, but once you're below that 1 minute mark, you have to adopt a new play style. I just got splatted right there, 40 seconds left on the clock. All good, okay? We're gonna stay calm, and this is how I want you guys to play during the last minute or 30 seconds of the match. You need to play very safe. So that means taking power positions that put you high up in the sky so that people have a harder time hitting you, or staying near a corner so that you always have some cover to work with. You can see that that's what I'm doing right here. Playing like this is going to make it really hard for you to get splatted, and as long as you prevent yourself from getting splatted, then you're going to be able to stay alive and get that paint at the last second. So you saw I was really patient, I stayed in that safe place, and then once my enemies were done rushing up to my team and feeding, that's when I came out of my spot and got that last bit of paint in the middle of the map that we needed to secure the W, despite the fact that it looked like we actually had less paint on the match until like the last 10 seconds. Okay, so one concern that Carnage came at me with after watching this live stream, he was like, you know, when I paint my base, I'm having trouble with people just coming into my base and painting right back over it. So if you are worried about that yourself, then if you're going to invest a lot of time into painting your base, make sure you invest that time into painting parts of your base that are very hard for the enemies to reach, so they can't easily just paint back over it. If you can get some space way in the top right or top left of your side of the map, then the enemies are going to have a hard time taking that paint away from you. If you just paint something that's kind of just in the pit right in front of your base, right in front of your first drop, then it might be a little too easy for your enemies to just kind of walk up and take that paint away from you. Earlier I said there is time during the turf war to have a little fun in between each respawn, you know, have some fun in mid, look for a fight, but if you're really concerned with doing absolutely everything you can to make sure you win this turf war, then what I recommend is after you're done painting your way out of the base, find yourself a choke point to watch that's going to help you to prevent people from getting into your base. A choke point would be any spot on the map where if your enemies wish to push through it, then they're going to get squeezed through a small section that doesn't give them too much space to move around left and right. If you can find yourself a spot like that and then just hide right next to it, then when an unsuspecting victim comes into that choke point, you can pop out and splat them, and it's going to be much more likely for you to get the splat because the enemies are stuck in this choke point where they can't move around too much. You could still lose, but your chances are a lot better because the enemies have fewer options. You don't have to rely on choke points. You could look for other powerful positions, for example, some kind of spot that gives you a height advantage against enemies who would approach you, or a spot where you can get a nice right side peeking angle. If you're super confident in your abilities, then you don't even have to look for a power position at all. You could instead be the one approaching enemies who are in power positions and try to get them out of their spots so that the rest of your team can push in and take paint from the enemy base. The point here is that the best way to stop enemies from taking paint from your base or from any part of the map is to splat them. So I'm telling you to find powerful positions that you can just wait at and get those splats. If you're struggling to win your fights even while playing from these positional advantages, then try to make sure that you're also playing a weapon that has a damage dealing sub-weapon. That way you can use your sub-weapon to extend your range and keep people further away, or you can use it to cover an option. So for example, if you're waiting at a choke point, you can drop a bomb that covers one side of the choke point and then use your main weapon to cover the other side of the choke point. And by the way, if you did decide to pick a weapon that isn't super good at painting, like a blaster or a slosher, then you're going to want to make sure that you find powerful positions that make that weapon shine, because that's kind of the whole point of using that weapon. If you're not using something that's good at painting in Turf War, then you should be using your weapon to stop people from pushing forward. Okay, what if you want to prevent enemies from pushing up and getting paint, but you aren't finding very much success by using the power positions that I suggested? Then I recommend using a longer ranged weapon so that when you do go into one of these power positions, you don't have to rely so much on getting the splat once they get too close. You can just play keep away with your long range. Enemies will be afraid to approach you because you can just splat them during their approach before they even get close to you, and you won't approach them because you don't want to get close. You can just keep sitting in your power position pretty much forever until someone finally throws a bomb or uses a special on you, if your aim is good enough to never let anyone get close, and if your awareness is good enough to know when someone is flanking you and getting close to you through a path that you can't see. If someone does end up getting close to you because you either missed your shot or didn't notice a flank, then no worries, just back off and super jump out. If your reaction time is too slow to back off and get yourself out of there, then that's perfectly normal. You're gonna see me get splatted here because my reaction time and my aim isn't good enough. That happens, it's turf war, just stick to the plan. After we respawn, we're not gonna super jump in, we're gonna pick a path and paint our way out of the base. You should have that memorized by now, I hope. The only time you want to super jump into mid after respawning is if it's during like the last 10 seconds of the match. Then I would say always just try to super jump into mid. Even if you die on impact, you gotta try. Or if your team is truly doing a great job of painting the base, then maybe you'll be completely done painting every last corner very early. And if you see that that's the case, then okay, go ahead and jump in. There's no reason for you to just swim to middle. If the base is already painted, you can just jump in. Although you don't want to jump in all willy-nilly. You should be trying to think, I can jump in, but should I jump in? What if there are enemies who would watch the jump? So even if you do have all that paint in your base, you got to be careful. Maybe you still don't want to jump into mid because you might die on landing. The only way to know if you're going to be in danger of dying on landing is by maintaining high awareness of what's going on. So you can look at the map, and even if you don't see any enemy squids on the map, you can still see where the paint is getting dropped, so you can probably tell if your teammates are in a fight or getting surrounded. If that's the case, then maybe don't jump in. If you don't see anything going on, then still be careful. You gotta maintain that awareness. What if someone is just sharking to try to trick you into jumping in by not dropping paint for you to know that they're there? Splatoon is a really awesome game because I can make this whole video that's just talking about how to win at turf wars, and it doesn't require you to be a super skillful player, but at the same time, the skillful players still can make really smart plays to try to beat the players who just try to play smart like this. So even though I'm teaching you all these strategies, it's not foolproof. You do still have to keep practicing, getting better at the game, learning how to win your engagements, learning how to have better awareness. So if you want to win more turf wars, you can follow the strats that I'm teaching you, but you also want to just remember that you got to keep refining your mechanics and your skills in order to really keep winning every game. Okay, we've covered a lot, so let's try to do a little recap here. During the first 2 minutes, you want to make sure that anytime you leave your base, you're painting a thorough path out so that by the time you're at 1 minute left in the match, your base is done getting painted. If you die during the first 2 minutes of the match, you should try to avoid super jumping in. You should instead pick a path and paint your way out of the base. Once you've painted your way out of the base, honestly, I say just have some fun with your weapon, take some fights, it's a game. But if you really just care about winning, then what you should be trying to do is find a spot that is a nice power position for you so that you can just wait there and then stop any enemies who would try to push forward. Make sure that you're using your sub weapon when you're holding those positions and trying to win your fights. The sub weapon is something that's really going to help supplement the power of your main weapon, and when you find the synergy between the two, you will become a much stronger squid. And if you combine that with holding a power position, even a less skilled player can beat a much more skilled player. If you really love this strategy of just holding a power position and waiting for people to approach, then maybe consider picking up a longer range weapon, because that's going to let you use these power positions even more effectively. If you've opted to just chill out and have some fun for the first couple of minutes of the match instead of holding a power position every time you leave your base, then make sure that once there's 1 minute left on the clock, that you switch gears and you do start playing from those power positions, because at that last minute of the match is when it starts becoming really important that you stay alive, because you need to be alive for the last 30 seconds to outpaint the enemy team. When the timer starts ticking down, you're at 45 seconds, 30 seconds, don't get antsy. Don't leave that power position until you know that your team has cleared out the enemies that are in front of you. If you push out too early, you might just be walking up into a trap against enemies who are being more patient and are waiting for their enemies to just walk forward. If you want to push your odds of winning even further from this point after using all these strategies, you got to keep honing in those skills. Get better mechanics with your aim, the combination of your main weapon with your sub weapon, and get better awareness so that you know where the fights are coming from. If you want to get better with those skills, then make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, because I'm always making new guides, especially for Splatoon. I already have one that's teaching you about just basic mechanics. I have one where you can learn more about using peeking angles. So if you want to watch some more of my guides, then click the little letter I in the top right corner of the video, or click on one of the videos that's about to pop on your screen right now. Alright everybody, that's the end of this Turf War video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I did this live stream a really long time ago, but I finally got around to uploading it. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like on the video. It would really help me out, and it costs nothing to do, so I think you should just go for it. Alright, thanks guys. I'll see you in the next one.